welcome everybody to Wednesday Women's Wine Time. I'm Jess, mum of 5, wife to a very, very patient husband, an intuitive life coach, author and speaker. And tonight we have a very special guest and just a gorgeous person in general. She is the incredible Melly Stewart. Melly is a women's personal and business development author, speaker, trainer and mentor, award-winning nature photographer and host and founder of the Courage 1000 Project WebTV and Podcast Global Platform. Her mission is to provide education, community and guidance to spiritually minded women who are ignoring their own needs, I hear ya, due to the pressures of everyday life. She helps solve this through her 3-step process of self-awareness, radical self-love, and courage, and in turn shows them that personal or business, it all starts with you. Welcome, Melly.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat to everyone. It's been a while for me.
I know, it's exciting to chat, not just one-on-one, but with everybody here as well. It's just, it's nice to connect.
Definitely. And I've kind of been in hibernation mode for a while. So it's kind of time to step back out and show the world the new me.
Well, you're looking gorgeous. I know I was talking to you about that before. You look absolutely stunning. I love the new you. The hair is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Melly, let's talk about what you're up to now. Because it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride for you the last few months, hasn't it? Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Well, it's been in the cards for a long time that I was meant to write a book by myself, and I kept pushing it away. But it finally came to a head. All the heavens kind of came to me and went, no, it's time that you actually do this. And it was funny, when I started writing, I realized that I had written nearly all of it already in my journals that I do every single morning. So then it became this chore of pulling my journals out and going back through it and putting it into some form of structure. And it's been interesting because as I've done it, I've been able to kind of consolidate, is that the right word? My own journey. And then be able to put it into a structure for others to follow. So at the moment, I'm almost at the process of releasing my new platform, my new methodology, I guess is the right word, called the Stages of Self. So I get to take people through 5 key stages, which I found are the things that are holding everybody back. And it's kind of stages that all women go through. It was interesting. The more I wrote it, the more I realized that this is the story of all women and we've just forgotten it. It just wasn't passed down at some point. So it's time to bring it back and start passing it down to our children.
Amazing.
I know, right? I'm so excited.
It is. But and the beautiful thing, I think, what sort of pricked my ears in hearing you talk about that was that it's not fluffy. There's some pretty deep stuff in there, but that's where the growth happens. Isn't that right?
Exactly. I found that each of the archetypes, so each of the stages, they went through the same cycle within themselves, but there was different themes that would come up. So I've noticed a lot when it comes to the spiritual community, especially, we seem to get stuck in what I call the wild woman, where everyone has the crazy hair, they run around in the big floaty dresses, they're all meditating, and it's a beautiful stage in, but then they stop there. No, you look great, Deb, don't do that.
It's I think Trish was like, crazy hair.
No, that's part of Trish, that's different. But it's they kind of get to this spiritual phase and then stop. And it's hang on a second, what about the actual work? What about the parts of yourself you're running away from? By being this wild woman, you're still running away from a part of yourself. And it's I just keep noticing, especially in the spiritual community, we've gotten so far, but we're not taking the next step. There's still this fear element. So I'm hoping that through the stages of self, if you're a teenager, you can pick it up and go, yep, I'm a princess, and oh shit, I need to take some self-responsibility. You're a mum, you can pick it up and go, oh, I really need to love myself a bit more. You can pick it up from a wild woman's perspective. So when you're in that middle-aged phase and go, oh, there's some lessons I need to learn here. And then we can keep working our way through it together. And it's kind of cool now watching the 5 stages play out in different areas of life. So I've had some pretty key people who've been helping me, and I've been calling them going, I'm stuck, this isn't making sense. And now they're using the language back at me, which is fantastic, in different areas of their life, which is really, really cool to watch. So people are saying, well, my finances aren't working, and I've realized I'm in princess mode with it. And I'm like, yes, it's working.
Wow. So let me try and understand this. So in the sense of you've gone on your own journey, and you've discovered that there are these 5 sort of stages in a woman's life. You're talking women, aren't you?
Definitely women, yes.
And, if some of us are feeling, I feel this at different times in my life, but when you feel really blocked and you just can't push past certain things, are you sort of saying that it could be that we're stuck in one sort of stage in our life? Is that what you mean?
Yep. Because each stage of it has a very specific element that we need to address and face in order to keep moving forward. So have you met those people, I find, especially the boomer generation at the moment, who don't take self-responsibility for anything? They lay the blame on everybody else. And it's never their fault, it's always someone else's. Yes. That is the princess.
Okay.
It is a child's mentality. Yeah. And it's because they haven't taken the next step of taking self-responsibility, of saying, no, I don't agree with what my parents said. This is what I believe, and I'm going to follow that. So they get stuck in this one stage for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
I know, right? I haven't even gotten to the mother goddess stage yet.
Wow. How did this, I know that you've sort of touched on it very briefly, but can you tell us, how did this all come about? If you don't mind sharing maybe some personal stories, how did this come about? Because I know you're not about fluff. We're not about fluff with you. We're about deep stuff. And I want to get to the deep stuff. So yeah, can you elaborate?
Okay, I can definitely go deep. It actually started for me with a miscarriage. So my journey started, I was the typical hustler, stay-at-home mum, running my own business, 3 or 4 elements to the business, and running myself into the ground to the point where I was not connected with myself anymore. And so when the miscarriage happened, I didn't even know I was pregnant, which was a big shock in itself to say, oh, I could have been a mother again, but now I'm not. So it set me on this huge roller coaster of emotions, having to go deep into it and then process it. But it was exactly what I needed. So while it was a very difficult time, and it actually triggered other health issues then, a lot of womb issues for me, and what I call my year of red. So if anybody has any health issues when it comes to their womb, you will probably know that the medical system has no freaking clue what goes on with a woman's cycle. They are just guessing. Yeah. So for a year, I had to deal with that. So I had the physical elements of it, of the hospital going, well, it could be cancer, it could be this, it could be that. Then the emotional elements of going through those emotional cycles as well. And then this huge spiritual journey on top of that again, because with all our emotions, there's a spiritual element attached. So it was quite interesting going through all that. It kept taking me back time and time again to moments in my life where I hadn't healed, where I hadn't done the work. So the more I did that, the more grounded I felt, the more safe I felt, and the more I was able to come back to being who I truly am. So the year of red was really a big unraveling of everything I wasn't meant to be in order to be who I was meant to be. And I think that is the greatest gift my second child could have ever given me, is the fact that she helped me be who I truly am. So that's the deep part that got me to this point.
That is a beautiful thing to say. You know, instead of, I know, you know, I acknowledge that it would have been such a loss for you, but for you to flip that and then say the gift that she gave you, just beautiful.
And I don't believe life ends after death. So
No.
there has been so many spiritual moments where she's come back.
And it's
to the point where my daughter's playing in the yard and she's like, I've got a new friend. And she just blurts out a name, and that was the name I had in mind for the child. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then I'll pull my cards. Lexi will come in and say, can I have a card? Sure. She pulls a card and I go to put them away, and a card will jump out of the deck, and it'll be a child's love, sorry. And it'll be a mother and a child on the card. And it's just that intuitive knowing that, hey, you forgot me. I'm like, sorry.
wow.
So yeah, the other one's still around. I say I've got one child here in the physical and one child in the spiritual. And I think that's a beautiful way to be.
It certainly is. I think that's, you know, and for you to acknowledge that she's gifting you, I think is such a sacred and special thing too. That's just beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you know yourself, children awaken different parts of us. And I found when I had Lexi, she awoke a huge part of my spiritual journey. And second child did exactly the same, but she took me a lot deeper.
So what happened next, you know, after this miscarriage and you know, you're finding yourself spiritually and you went through this year of red. How did you get from there? Because how many years ago was this?
It started in 2018.
Yep. So from
No, it was longer. 2016. 2018 was the resolution. So yeah, quite a while ago now.
Wow. So what happened between those 4 years?
So miscarriage, then a year of red, which was just, I don't know where time went. I was quite heavy in my grief. I can acknowledge that now. So I lost all track of time. And it was about a year later where the medical system finally caught up and I was able to get my periods under control so I could at least function in everyday life. And then, as it goes with all journeys, there's this uncomfortable pause of, well, what now? What did all that mean? What happens next? There's just this pause, which I think a lot of people don't stop to honour. And it was in that pause that the words started coming through. And I journal every day. It's just a part of my spiritual practices, my mental health practices. And I found my journaling started changing. Instead of these nice long flowy sentences, they were really short and sharp poetry. And every day it was just another short and sharp poem that would come out. And slowly I started noticing there were themes that I was writing about. I was writing about the themes from my childhood and where I hadn't taken responsibility and had been blaming my parents for stuff. And things like, well, am I going to continue doing this? And it was interesting because Lexi is at that stage where she's experiencing a lot of the things I did when I was her age. So I'm getting to relive it now through her. So that would trigger stuff. And I'd be like, oh, that's right. I went through that as a child. That makes sense now why I'm like this as an adult. How do I fix that so I can help her fix it?
Oh, boy.
So, yeah.
I'm laughing because I get you. Like, I'm not with my girl, but with my 10-year-old son. It's just like trigger. It's right up in your face.
And then you have to deal with it on two levels because you're trying to help them, but then it's taking you back to your own problems. But then it's kind of like this balance of how do I help you as a mother and how do I help myself as the child that I was then?
And how do I...
So I ended up writing.
So I can't go crazy. Because they like, I don't know about you, but Josh, like, he just triggers me like there's no tomorrow. He just he can just really bite with his words, and I have to, like, not react. And it's hard sometimes, and I'm waiting for that with my girl, because I know it's going to be a whole nother kettle of fish.
Yep. Girls are especially bad because they've got that, there's a bitchiness to what they say. So they're deliberately trying to hurt you. And I know now, after I've done the work, every time she hurt me, I knew it wasn't her thing. It was mine that she was triggering. So I had to take responsibility for that. So every time she triggered me, it was like, okay, I can't get mad at you for that because this is mine. This isn't yours. And was I going to repeat the cycle of the past and then throw it back onto her? Or was I going to stop it with me? So I made a point. It stops with me. I face my stuff. So she's not carrying my stuff forward in her life. And it's been interesting because the more I stood up for myself and went, no, this is not acceptable. I am not accepting this. And you are not treating me like this. I've noticed she started mirroring it back to me. So there were moments where she went, no, mummy, I need mental space now. I need quiet by myself. And I was like, perfect, go. For a 6-7-year-old to be doing that, I'm like, take it. I'll take it too.
What Deb just said, you can't push a button that doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yep. And it's been interesting. It's taken me a lot into the psychology behind women, and especially the shadow traits that we carry forward in our life. Because it's those shadows that are being pressed. And then because we're not aware of them, we're emotionally reacting and we're lumping that emotion onto everybody else in the world. So for me, the big goal of the 5 stages of self is to get to the point where we're the sorceress. So we are fully aware of who we are, the impact we have in the world, and we consciously step forward with that. So we don't react to people anymore. So I actually had a bit of it come through today that I had this vision of like a sorceress fully in her gown, walking through a forest, and then someone throwing a knife at her back. That whole tall poppy syndrome, when you finally step up, wield your magic out in the world, and then everybody wants to cut you down again. But to me, the sorceress doesn't go, okay, I'll shrink to make you comfortable. She picks up the knife and just hands it back and goes, is this yours?
Wow.
And I was like, that's like the goal of the sorceress. It's not to hurt anybody in return. It's just to hand it back and go, this isn't mine, this is yours.
It's not revenge. It's not, malice. It's, wow, that is powerful.
It is. And to me, that's the story all women have forgotten. We've all got this ability within us. We've just forgotten to teach it to our children. So the more of us who remember, the more of us teach it to our children, and then we can keep the cycle going. Cycle of empowerment.
And that's what I think is beautiful about, I know I'm coming from a personal story now, in that is beautiful about the women that I'm attracting at the moment, because for much of my earlier years, all I attracted were bitches, and they'd stab me in the back, and they were horrible. And it's funny, when I learned to start lifting others up, instead of, trying to, it's not that I was tearing them down, but it was always like about judgment and about, particularly as a teenager, we judge. It's all about what you look like and what clothes you're wearing and all of this. And when I really stood back from all of that and I started to instead build people up, it was like, wow, things just completely shifted. And I started attracting all these beautiful women into my life. And I realized it is not a competition. There's enough for everybody. It's about empowering women and building them up. And let's do this together. And it's just been what I've felt back has been 100 million, trillion, billion, million, trillion times greater than as if I tore somebody down. And I think that's what we all have to realize as women, that we need to stop judging and to get out of that in our own head. Because if we keep feeling like everybody's judging us, or we have fear that, oh, what are my friends going to think? Or, you know, what are they going to say about me behind my back? Then we retreat, you know, and we don't let our creativity come out. We don't get to be the real us. Exactly what you were talking about before, about, you know, standing up and being who you were always meant to be. And I think that that's just so profound, like right now. And that's exactly what you're talking about, isn't it?
Exactly. And to be in that place of the sorceress going, okay, I get you're trying to cut me down, but instead of retaliating with judgment, being able to retaliate with compassion and kindness and love and say, yes, I get it. You want to cut me down. Why? What is going on for you that makes you feel the need to try and bring me down to your level?
Yeah. And how can I empower you?
Exactly. How can I now help you get through this? And I think that's the gift of the sorceress. And there is not a lot of women in this world who are willing to do that. They just put their walls up and go, nope, I'm past that. You can just go away. But at some point, some of us have to turn around and go, how can I help you? So I think that, to me, is a big part of the sorceress. And as you said, once you find that self-value, that self-worth, the women who need your help are magically attracted to you.
Yeah.
And then if you can't help them, it's usually someone who you can empower, stand side by side with, and then help others together. It's like this magic wall where we get to stand on it, just keep helping people up onto the wall.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I know it's been a huge lesson for me, especially stepping into this spiritual realm as well, in learning that it's not, you know, we're not competing with each other. And I think that that's where, you know, that patriarchal, all of that stuff comes into play. Whereas when we blend together and we become one, it's amazing that certain people are attracted to certain people depending on their stories or their uniqueness or their gifts. We're all so individual. And it's like, you know, I find that when I'm step back, you know, I could take certain clients. I could say, yep, I found you, you're mine, you know, like that sense of ownership. But instead of doing that and stepping back and going, who would be the right person for this particular person? I've found that that's come back tenfold. And I think that that's where each of us need to step up. And that's, you know, in helping women find the right person that they need in their lives right now. And I've done that many times. And sometimes, you know, I can hear my head going, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? You just lost a client. And I'm like, have my heart's like, no, I was not the right person at that time in their journey. That's not to say that they're going to come back in, you know, a year or 2 years. And I think we have to respect that. And this is exactly, I think, what you're saying. And it's moving through those stages of what you're talking about. Can you tell me, what are the 5 stages? I'm intrigued.
So we start with the princess. So she looks at that time of your life where you were imposed with the rules and regulations of society, even if they didn't fit with who you were. So you had no choice. Your parents have said, this is what society deems is right. You can't run down the street naked. You have to be wearing clothes. So things like that come up. And then you feel restricted, chained, held back. And if we look at our kids today, we can see that happening.
Yeah, controlled, I think, when you talk about that, I feel a sense of control. And I think that's what a lot of us do with our kids these days, is we try and control them.
Exactly. And so we've got to address those issues, come to the fact that we have to take self-responsibility. We're only being controlled because we're allowing ourselves to be controlled. So once we accept that, we can step into the mother goddess phase. And that's where we want to give our love freely to the world around us. But as we all know, mums can kind of step a bit too far, and then we want to protect everybody, whether they need protection or not. And then we go from smothering to mothering to smothering.
I love that.
So that becomes a big part of the mother goddess's journey, learning not to smother people, to respect the fact they're on their own journey, and that sometimes they're going to have to get hurt. They're going to have to do things the wrong way in order to learn the lesson. And meanwhile, while all that's going on, she's an emotional wreck. So then it's learning how to deal with our emotions in the process of all that. You felt that one as a mum, Jess?
I did. I'm thinking, oh my God, because I try so hard not to be a helicopter mum in letting them, because I do understand that we are all souls and we all have choices and we're all on our own journey, and we have to let, even though they're our children, they're on loan. We don't own them. And so for me, I'm very much, I can identify very strongly with that, in that, it's giving them the ability to be themselves, but sometimes it's just really, really hard.
Oh yes, I hear you, especially when they're especially stubborn, because then you've got to watch them make the same mistake over and over again, and you can give the little hints, but if they're not going to accept it, it's still their journey.
Yep.
But after the mother goddess, we then step into the wild woman. So she's the part where we start going, okay, I want to retreat from society now. It's like you've given all your love, you've realized you can respect their journey, you've kind of got a handle on your emotions, and they're going to come and go, and then all of a sudden you want to explore something a bit deeper. That's where we go into the wild woman phase. So I always envision the wild woman as kind of leaving society behind, dropping all her clothes and walking into the forest naked. She's raw, vulnerable, and ready to take whatever the world has to offer her. But it's in that phase we realize how bloody angry we are with everything that has happened previously. Because we don't have a chance to actually deal with that underlying emotion.
Yeah.
So as a child, we're being held back, we're being controlled. We finally say, no, enough of this. I'm taking the control back. And then all of a sudden you're a mother goddess. You're responsible for others. Life has a really fast pace. Then when you claim that pace back, you're like, what's actually lying underneath all of this? And for women, it's a huge issue of suppressed anger. So many health issues I'm seeing all relate to anger. So the moment we get to address that suppressed anger, that's when our intuition really starts coming through. And I found when I released my anger, which was a very interesting journey in itself, I was actually able to connect then with my ancestors a lot more. So that's when their little guidance came through. Animals would start turning up in my life, and I could understand a message that was coming from them. And it was really interesting that it was the anger that was blocking this deeper knowing that all women have from actually coming through.
Can I ask you a question? Does the wild woman come after she's finished mothering? Or can the wild woman come at any time in her journey?
Anytime.
Oh boy.
That's the best part about the stages, that yes, they happen over a woman's life.
Yeah.
But they could all happen within one day. You could wake up as a princess, take responsibility, end up loving your kids, sending them off to school and going, nope, they're fine, they're looking after themselves, have a teary spell, and they go, you know what, I want to go dance back naked in the backyard. That's the nature of a woman.
Oh, I love that because I can definitely identify, obviously with the mothering, but also with the wild woman of, and I have really experienced, now that we're talking openly about this, the anger. And I think, I know for me, it's the anger of, some of that anger resonates from that sense of control about being a good girl or doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I found a lot of the anger comes up from our suppression of being feminine. Society has this very big issue of holding us back from our feminine, from being sensual women. So when we get to the wild woman stage, we're dancing naked, we're under the moon, we're discovering who we are again, and then we're loving who we are, and then all of a sudden that anger's triggered of why was this kept from me? Like, this wasn't fair. And then we've got to address that and move through it. And then just when you think that's it, we come to the dark queen phase. This is where we get to go deep with the shadow work.
Oh boy, the fun part.
Oh yes. Now I envision the dark queen is our intuition. So she's that part of ourselves that's really deep within. She's like that darker portion of ourselves but she's that voice inside of us who's always calling to us from the back of the cave. But we've got all this junk in the way that we can't hear her voice clearly. And the only way to get to her is to start clearing out the cave, which means facing all the parts of yourself you've rejected. It's the dark...
Bad, like the things that you would deem bad, do you mean?
Yes. So, for example, if we go to the princess phase, one of the parts of the princess she rejects is her own ability to self-destruct. So anybody with kids knows that the moment you say no to them, they usually break it up, throw it against the wall and go, fine, then I don't want it. Which is a huge self-destructive thing, because obviously they did. They asked for it. So then when we get to that dark queen phase, we have to face that. We have to face what I call the monster, the self-destruction monster, and then love her and go, okay, I see you for what you were trying to do. You were trying to protect my heart from being hurt. So rather than letting somebody else hurt me, I'll hurt myself first. Thank you. And then being able to love that monster for that, and before you can move forward, it's like, it's a huge thing. And now when those sorts of tendencies come up, you can look at them and say, I love you. Thank you for trying to help me here, but I'm strong enough now, so you can go back to sleep and I'm going to do this anyway, whether I get hurt or not.
Do you think that stage is really working with that inner child as well?
There's a bit from each of the stages that we have to go through.
Yep. Yeah. That works with your inner child.
Because I find, because like the mother goddess, we get to this point where we accept the fact we're emotional, but then we don't accept the fact we can be really, really bossy and manipulative towards our kids. I will admit I do it too. I'm like, I want my own way. She is going to fight me on this. So how do I manipulate her into doing what I want her to do?
Yeah, I think every woman does. And sometimes it's, I know particularly in my situation, having 5 of them, it's like we have to have some sort of organized chaos. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But we reject the fact that we manipulate.
Yeah.
But if we looked at it and loved it and thanked it for what it was trying to do to help us, all of a sudden we don't hate that portion of ourselves anymore. That self-love comes in. And then we just keep working our way through it. And then to finally see the Dark Queen is accepting our self-worth, accepting who we truly are and loving that part of ourselves, all of it. And then from there, we get to step forward as the sorceress, completely whole, wielding our magic, and then pretty much setting our values of how we're going to live our life going forward.
Do you think we ever get to the sorceress, or as you said before, there will be moments in our life where we will?
I look at it as kind of like a pyramid where the sorceress sits at the top and each of the 4 stages sit underneath.
Yeah.
So we can stay in our sorceress, but some of these other guys are going to become a bit stronger depending on what's happening. But our sorceress is aware that they're there now. So they kind of become the base, our foundation for wielding our magic out into the world.
Wow. I'm just like blown away. Every stage you talk about, like, yes. And I'm sure that everybody else on here as well is just like, oh my God. And it can be confronting too, admitting that, you do some of these things, like, being manipulative or being controlling towards our kids. But, as you say, learning to love those aspects of you and being compassionate and understanding. I think one of the biggest things that I just want to say right from the outset, and I'm sure you'd agree with me, is at the end of the day, we all have to show ourselves compassion and just gentle. Yep. This is about a journey. This is not about perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, did you want to add anything?
I was just going to say the whole point of it is radical self-love, really. Once you've got the awareness that it's there, then you've got to go on the journey and take that radical self-love, because to me, self-love is not bubble baths and sitting under the trees and stuff. Yes, that makes you feel good.
Yep.
But if you're not actually doing the work, it means nothing. It's just giving you space before you step back into the chaos of your life. So to me, that radical self-love is actually doing the inner work, facing your demons, facing the stuff that's going on inside, so you can come out as a centered whole human that's not throwing your anger and your shit at everybody else in life.
And loving the different facets, obviously,
Yep.
because we are so multifaceted.
All of us, even our angry self.
Yeah, and I think that can be the hard part. Is it's easy to love the person who shows courage. It's easy to love the person who's compassionate, but to show love to the angry person, to show, you know, show love for the person, you know, who doesn't always get it right, who often fails. That aspect of ourselves can sometimes be harder to do, you know.
It can be really hard, but for me, if we're doing it, and even if we're getting it wrong, we keep trying, our children are watching us. And when they watch us, they start mimicking it. So I've seen so many times where I've had an angry spell, I've lost my temper, I finally calm down, I sit Lexi down and say, I'm sorry, I was getting really frustrated, you weren't respecting my boundaries and what I value.
Yep.
And I got angry about it.
Yeah.
And now she just replies, oh, it's all right, mummy, we all get angry sometimes, even I get angry. And I'm like, yes, I must be doing something right. And if all parents could do that with their kids, like, imagine how much happier the world would be. It'd be awesome.
Well, how much more understanding too. Do you know what I mean? They wouldn't have these, you know, be building upon building upon building of those, you know, the things that most kids just shovel on down. That's what we were, I mean, I don't know about you, but I was definitely taught to just bury it, you know, just keep burying it, you know what I mean? Rather than deal with it, let's just
keep it under the carpet.
Yeah. And I think if kids learn how to, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm still learning, but I'm very much about, you know, let the emotion come out. If you're angry, let's let it out. Do you know what I mean? Let's not keep it in there. If you're feeling really angry, go to your bed, grab your pillow and beat it. Get that energy out. Transfer that energy into something else.
Yeah.
Melly, can you share some tips that might help some of the women tonight move through those stages? What would you tell somebody who's perhaps, you know, probably in the mother or the princess phase and they need to move, they feel like they want to move forward on their journey? What sort of tips or words of encouragement would you give them?
That's a good one. Don't discount what you're actually feeling. I think that's the biggest thing. Yes, so many women are disconnected from their emotions, from their feelings, sorry. So when the emotion comes up, they'll be crying or they're angry, they're stomping their feet, but they don't know why. And I think that's the big thing. Stop and ask yourself why. Why am I feeling this way? Why do I need to express myself this way? What do I need underneath all of this? Because to me, there's a big difference between emotions, feelings, and needs. So for me, emotion is the outward display. It's the crying, it's the stomping of the feet, it's the yelling. But the feeling is what's going on inside. It's the frustration, it's the anxiousness. And that then stems from a need. What do you need? Do you just need to feel safe? Do you need to feel loved right now? Is there something else you need? Do you need to feel like you've accomplished something? Is that what's driving the feeling, which is then driving this emotion that you're throwing out at the world? So taking that time to stop and go, yes, I'm yelling right now. Why? What am I actually feeling? And because it's such a complex thing with emotions being all these different shades of everything, it can take time to be honest with yourself. So I think above all else, take the time to be honest with yourself. Take that responsibility. What am I actually feeling? To me, that will get you through the stages.
Wow. That's
I kick people up the butt a bit.
Yeah, and I think that is just such an incredible, it sounds so simple, but it's so complex. Like, I'm just trying to think about my own situation, you know, in times where I've been like, or, you know, or feeling sense of sadness. It's like stepping back and asking, well, why? And often I think that that's multi-layered. Do you know what I mean? You'll ask yourself why, and then it'll be like, well, why that? And then why? And if you dig down those deeper levels, often, you know, you'll find yourself having an epiphany and going, oh, it makes sense. It might be something that was said to you as a child, or something that, you know, you went through as in, you know, even younger. And I think that to identify that and to deal with that is just transformative. So that's incredible advice. I love that. I do have one final question. And that is, what do you want your legacy to be, Melly?
I like that. I just see women being self-empowered, taking responsibility for themselves and not looking to everybody else to fix them. I see it everywhere. Like, our children are doing it, going, Mummy, fix me. Our parents are doing it because they weren't taught any better. So they're looking around at the world going, somebody fix me. And I feel it's our generation. It's all of you here taking the time to stop and go, no, I take self-responsibility, and watching that ripple effect go out into the world. So to me, the legacy I want to do is create that ripple now. As long as I'm the example, then I can watch others doing it as well. So the legacy is just to remind everyone, be the example. No matter what you're doing, personal or business, it starts with you. It starts with you being the example. That's my legacy.
Very wise woman. I'm sure everyone here
Thank
will agree. Wise, way beyond your years. I love chatting to you. Where can people get in touch with you? Where can people find you? Where can people work with you?
Okay, my website is mellys.com.au, or you can join my Facebook group, which is Darling, You Are Magical. And in that, I do weekly readings every Monday. So I give an update of the energy for the week, what's going on in the cosmos. And I do one-card readings just to give people the confidence to get through the week. Because as we know, the moon tends to take over at times, and then we question ourselves, we question what we're doing with our lives, whether we're in the right spot. So for me, if we've got that heads up that, hey, we've got a full moon this week, especially full moon in Pisces, and our imagination is going crazy, and we could be prone to illusion as well. So don't go with everything you're thinking right now. Just stay a bit grounded. Kind of helps you get through the week.
That's beautiful. And if you guys, when are we going to get the book, Melly?
Very, very soon.
I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited to understand more about the different stages, because I can completely relate. It's just incredible and so profound what you've discovered and you've been through. And I tend to really be drawn to people who have actually been through it, rather than just talking about it from a theoretical perspective. And you have, and I just think, you know, you're just incredible, and I can't wait. I can't wait to read it. So hurry up and get it out there. I see it.
I'm so close, and there's going to be oracle cards that come with it shortly after as well.
Awesome.
So that way, if you get stuck, you just pull out the cards and go, okay, I don't know what stage I'm at, what's going on, and then the card will just tell you what's going on. So you're like, yes, okay, now I know which way to move forward.
So it gives you greater guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love my cards.
Yeah, so do I. I love working with cards. They're awesome. Well, thank you so much for tonight. Does anybody have any questions for Melly before I begin to wrap up?
Can I just ask, do you have an idea of when? And I know you said you're close, but are we talking a month or 2 months or a week?
I'm hoping within the month.
Awesome. That's exciting.
Yep. Yeah, because a lot of it has been channeled. I have to be in the right space for it to come through.
Yeah.
So from an author's perspective, I've edited Princess, Mother Goddess and Wild Woman. I've half edited The Dark Queen, and then more information came through, so I've got to put that in. And The Sorceress is pretty much done. I just have to make a few tweaks to it now. And I've even got light codes in there as well. So even if people don't pick up the book, the code on the cover is going to be enough to at least activate it within them. So either way, I'm creating that ripple.
This feels quite big to me.
What was that? Sorry?
This feels quite big to me.
It does. And that actually brought up a lot of fear in me. All the old witch wounds came up. I'm like, I know this is going to be big. This is going to go worldwide. And it's like, am I prepared for that? And then I had to face all my issues again, going, okay, well, am I going to take responsibility for the fact that, yes, this could be big and this scares me?
Princess.
Exactly.
I've got to go. Melly, thank you so much, but I've got to be on another call in 4 minutes, so I have to scoot.
That's all right. We'll catch up soon.
Yes.
See you, Trishy.
Bye.
Bye, Trish.
Bye.
Thank you, Jess, so much for doing this series. I've so enjoyed watching them and can't wait till you're back. And thanks, Melly. It was great.
Thanks, Deb.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. So does anybody else have any questions for Melly?
I was just going to ask, what was your Facebook following again?
Oh, my group is Darling, You Are Magical.
Okay, thank you.
Or if you type in Melly S, you'll get a list of all my stuff.
Okay, yep, great.
I'm over most of socials a bit too much.
Awesome. Did you have any questions, Cara?
No, but it just sounds amazing. No, really, yeah.
Which stage do you feel more drawn to?
I can definitely see aspects of a lot of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely, I think generally obviously I think the way I see what you're sort of saying as well, it's kind of like in one aspect of your life, you could be the princess.
Yeah.
Or even in a given day or a given month or whatever thing's going on in your life at the same time. But you can also have an overall stage that you're kind of sitting in at this point in time. I mean, obviously, I've just become a mum, so that would obviously put me in through to obviously your motherhood stage.
Yeah.
But at the very beginning, though.
Yeah. So how old is your bub?
He's 9 months.
Okay, you're very much at the beginning. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, very much. Although, I've reading a lot about this spiritual stuff for a while now, so quite across, like when Jess is talking about triggers and you're talking about triggers, I mean, I've read a number of books around parenting and how when our children are triggered, and it relates everywhere, like your partners and the like as well. So, yeah, it's great work.
I love it. I love it when people are looking at their triggers and not just unconsciously throwing their stuff at everybody.
It still happens.
Yeah. Oh, it still happens.
A lot.
But if you're aware of it.
Like the other day I was getting cranky at my husband about potatoes. And then I was listening to a book and she was saying how they had her in the book, she was talking about her and her husband having a fight over capsicums. And it's never about the potatoes. It's never about the bloody capsicums. It's trying to figure out, okay, what the hell was that just about? I mean, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah. And probably under that, it was a feeling of being unloved, which meant you had this need that you wanted safety and security. You wanted to know that you belonged. And once you address those, the potato and the capsicum mean nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually I would love to find a man who could write the male counterpart to it.
Oh my gosh.
I would love to hear a male's perspective because, like, we don't know. We know what goes through in the feminine life, but what about men? Do they go through the same thing? Is their journey different? I can't wait till the universe brings that in. I'll be like, yes, write it.
That is an amazing idea. I would totally be down for reading that.
Yeah. Like, imagine getting that insight into your person. Like, that would just, that'd be so good. Going, yep, you're in your caveman zone, so I will just leave you alone because you can't hear anything I'm saying right now.
Yeah, I think we would have to look through a lot of the tribal stuff for that, I reckon. Like, just thinking about that on a personal level, like being in a relationship with somebody who was, still very, I mean, they say that they're more primitive, but, they go through such different stages in their masculine journey. They're boys, and then they have to stay with their mothers up until around the age of 5 or 6. Then they have to depart from their mothers. They go into the stage where they're around their peers and older, not older men, but older, teenage boys and older boys. And then they go through this, the puberty stage, and then it's turning into a man. And, I know from his perspective, being a Maasai warrior, they used to have to kill a lion to prove their manhood. And then once they finished being like a warrior and the protector of their tribe, then they moved into being, an elder and being, wise and sharing and imparting their wisdom on the younger generation before, their time was up, and they moved on to being, they believed that they'd be a part of the stars, like a part of, be molded back into the universe. So I think that, I think we'd have to look to the tribes and the ancient tribes, and even the tribes today to get that sort of information. I think it would explain a lot, though.
I'm really interested to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Yeah.
And as we're talking about this, I realised I need to rewrite the book once I'm finished it and market it towards men so they can understand their woman.
Absolutely.
If they knew we were in Wild Woman and we needed to be left alone, then maybe they would actually respect that.
Yes. Or in the mothering stage, when we are manipulative and controlling and mothering and
Can I just say, when I'm counselling couples, generally the men really do want to understand, and they really do want that. And this is where they get into trouble. They want to do stuff to fix things instead of just understanding. They don't realise the power of just understanding. But if they knew that's what they had to do, 99% of the fellas that I've seen, they would exactly do that. They just need the step by step.
Maybe that's what their book is, by step instructions to a woman.
Yes, yes. Yes, they would love that. They might even read it. Yes.
Like a manual. Like, it'd have to be like, I don't know about you, but my husband can read like flat pack furniture like it's like the Bible. I look at it and I just go, huh? Like, but he's like, yeah, you have to do this with this with this, and I'm like, what? He's like diagrams of like engines, and I'm like, that is just like Chinese, reading like, Chinese or a foreign language to me. And he's like, no, that's exactly like this part goes with this part goes with. So maybe that's what they need.
Now I'm seeing it more like a comic book.
Oh yeah.
Here's her face. Here's what she's feeling. Here's what you need to do.
And I'm feeling it's something we read to them at bedtime so they understand.
Yep. Maybe we just have to start with our sons, teach our sons so they carry it through to their wives. Maybe we've got more hope down there.
Yeah, you might be right. Is there any more questions?
I just wanted to say thank you. There's a lot to think about and digest. A lot.
Sorry.
Don't apologise.
No, it's brilliant. Don't apologise for having a brilliant brain.
Oh, thank you.
And brilliant powers of observation. You're amazing, Melly.
Oh, thank you. So are you. You know that. I can't wait to see the magazine.
Exciting times. Thanks for tonight, Jess. This is great. I saw it was your last one. I thought, can't be. I'm come along every week, and next minute it's stopping.
Yes, I have decided this is the end of season 1. We will be back. I just need to take a little bit of a break. I've got some family commitments and things that are coming up, and we all need a little bit of a rest sometimes. We've been going since March, So it's been quite, what is that? Is that like 6 months? March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Crazy. And we've had some
While raising 5 children.
Pardon?
Good effort while raising 5 children.
I know, trying to keep them quiet. Oh, no. Yeah. But no, it's been just awesome. And I am so grateful to each and every one of you who have, supported me and been here. And to my fabulous guests, I have just been inspired. I've cried, I've laughed, I have learned so much, not only about this process, but also about what inspires women and what, connects us and brings us together. And I just think we are pretty dang incredible, how we learn to, overcome challenges and traumas and things that could potentially define us. But we take those stories and we use them for good. And I've just been so touched by each and every person who has had the courage, who has had the ability, and also, to be so open to share their stories and to share them with us. So I'm truly, truly, truly grateful. So thank you all. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having us. And thank you for having me tonight. I think this is a wonderful idea. I love it.
Yeah, congratulations, Jess. I think it's super. Yeah.
Yeah, I love to see everybody's faces on here on a Wednesday night. It just brings me so much joy. And, I know that I could bring interviews and those sort of things, but there's just something different about bringing, a collection of incredible women together and sharing and asking questions and bouncing ideas off of each other. So, yeah, I think it's something special and sacred. So we will be back for a season 2. I'm just going to take a little break for just a little while, and I've got some awesome guests that will be coming up, and also some women who would like to come back a second time. So I must be doing something right.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, I will wrap up then. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We will take a short break, but be on the lookout for season number 2. Take care, love, light, and blessings, and we will see you all very soon. Ta-ta. Thank you, Melly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Take care, everyone.